Today is August 31st, 2023, and this is Conversations from Stritch. I'm Dave Livingston, president of Lewis University, and I'm joined by my co-host, Provost Christopher Sent, Dr. Christopher Sent. I do want to welcome everybody back and also just acknowledge that this is our fourth season. So first episode of our fourth season. We are excited to have everybody back on campus, especially for those, that we've seen around campus, either in Romeoville, Oak Brook, or Albuquerque. But of course, we have lots of students that are doing their classes virtually, and we welcome them back to campus as well. There's a great energy in the hallway, I must say. I was able to give out donuts and some directions on Monday morning to students. And then last night, Dr. Ann Rapp and I were able to give out cookies with Cy, one of our GAs that works in Oak Brook. Went around to all the classes, and boy, I'll tell you, we'll talk about this later, but the renovations in Oak Brook, just incredible. So if you haven't been to Oak Brook lately, stop by while you're going by on 88 or 355. It's very, very impressive. I do want to offer my sympathy to the family and friends of two of our colleagues who passed away the opening weeks of the school year, Dr. James Krejci and Dr. Lucien Galamou. Dr. Krejci passed away on Tuesday of this week after working at Lewis for 30 years in multiple roles. Most recently, he served as chair of business administration and marketing. And Dr. Galamou was a professor of engineering, computing, and mathematical science and worked at Lewis for 10 years. Dr. Galamou passed away on August 19th. We offer our prayers and our sympathy to their families and colleagues. We also want to offer a fond farewell to Mary DeGraw. It's just amazing to me. I just stopped at her office half an hour ago or so. Today is actually her last day after 33 years of working at Lewis. I do want to say that we are really excited that we're going to be able to honor her at Signum Fidei. So the Signum Fidei event occurring the 20th, I'm pretty sure it's the 20th, but the third weekend of October. And that Saturday night, we will be honoring Mary DeGraw. We'll talk about this more at upcoming shows and remind you, but I just was with Colleen Ahern, our Vice President for Advancement this morning, and she said packets for Signum Fidei will be showing up in people's mailboxes early next week. So when you get your packet, make sure you get your tickets and show up to honor Mary. And of course, the big part of Signum Fidei is also raising resources for our mission fund, which helps our most vulnerable students. Welcome Week, Convocation, incredibly wonderful events. I must say that the fireworks to wrap up right after the carnival, the Welcome Week, were really a fitting conclusion to the week's activities. We also had our summer Board of Trustees meeting a couple weeks ago. It was really a great opportunity to share with our trustees all the progress that we've made on our strategic plan, as well as discuss future ideas and projects. And we were able to share with them that the enrollment numbers are slightly up this fall, which is a very positive trend, and a trend that we've been moving on for the last 3 years post-COVID. So, a great welcome week. So grateful to everybody who worked, volunteered. We had alumni there for move-in day. It was an incredibly hot day for move-in day, almost 100 degrees, and so we're really grateful to everybody. But there are lots of other pieces of news. So, Chris, you have some kind of acknowledgments, congratulations, all of that kind of stuff.
Yes, I do. Hello, everyone. Great to be here. And I agree, it's been a really great couple of weeks. Welcome week through the beginning of the week. It's great weather, so many people out and about. I went to the activity fair yesterday during our first community hour, and it was wonderful to see so many clubs and organizations there, many that are new, that I'm seeing for the first time. Attracting lots of interest, and I hope people are signing up for those, and please encourage others to do the same. And really, we have some announcements about next week's community time later, but it was really interesting to see all the people on campus during that hour, many at the activity fair, but also many throughout all of our buildings and outside the LRC and so on, just studying and being together during that time. So I do have some news that is somewhat comprehensive of the entire summer, draws from the summer, because we haven't been together here since the end of the spring semester. So these are some really big highlights. We were really happy this summer to host students from the Universidad de La Salle in Colombia who were living on campus and conducting research over the summer through a program called SOPEF for Life. It stands for Soil, People, the Environment, and Food for Life. They were undergraduate students from the Universidad de La Salle working with Professor Jerry Kavoris and one of his collaborators from the university there on soil research, and they lived on campus, got to go see the Chicago area. We got to see a really wonderful presentation of not only the research that they did, which was extraordinary, but also the fun that they had in the Chicago area. It was really sweet to see, and I think it made a big difference to them to be here for the whole summer. That program was funded through a grant from 100K Strong Innovation Fund, which is part of the U.S. Andean Innovation Fund. Really great that we got to do that, and thank you to Dr. Kavoris. The Lewis University's chemistry department continues to showcase its academic excellence and cutting-edge research at its student and faculty participated in the 25th International Symposium on Chemical Mechanical Planarization, hosted by Clarkson University Center for Advanced Materials Processing in the beginning of August 6th through 9th in Lake Placid, New York. At the conference, Lewis was represented by Professor Jason Kelleher, along with students Kevin Reyes, Tatiana Cahew, Adam Caridi, and Joseph Powell. So everyone I just named gave a unique, or they were part of a presentation or gave their own unique presentation at this conference. So having 5 people from Lewis doing research presentations at this distinguished summer conference is really amazing. And obviously for students to be doing it is especially special. The United States Health Resources and Services Administration, also known as HRSA, recently awarded Lewis a $142,000 grant for the Nurse Faculty Loan Program. The grant opens a scholarship program scholarship program eligibility for enrolled in a Lewis graduate program, a master's or doctoral program. The program provides low-interest loans for individuals studying to be nursing faculty, and then when they become faculty, they get loan cancellation for those loans after they are employed. So in exchange for completion of up to 4 years of post-graduation employment in an accredited school of nursing, graduates receive that cancellation of up to 85% of the original student loan amount. HRSA, the program encourages also advanced practice registered nurses to receive loan forgiveness if they serve as full-time preceptors within an academic practice partnership framework. That is really complicated, what I just described, and it's really simple. So the department of HRSA on the federal government side, but I know you hear this all the time in Illinois as well, we both do, there's a real need for nurses, and one of the problems of that is that we don't have enough professors to train nurses. And so this program is really for universities to be able to provide really low cost or almost free educational experiences for nurses who are going to go to graduate school and will promise to teach for 4 years or more so that more nurses can be educated and enter the workforce. And we're really pleased that we're able to offer scholarships to people interested in nursing, but we're also really pleased to be able to contribute to the community in that way, where we're able to build up our nursing program and graduate more nurses. We're really pleased to announce the Joliet Lewis Partnership for Student Mental Health was awarded a 5-year grant for $2 million from the Mental Health Service Professional. We have talked about that program before, so it's going really well, and we can maybe save a little time and not talk about it too much today, but there's a lot of wonderful work happening this summer in that program. And sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. I guess the only other thing I wanted to, or two other things I wanted to mention. Congratulations to Marty Philippian, Associate Professor of English Studies and Director of Language and Literature Concentration, who recently co-edited a book called Inclusive Shakespeare's Identity, Pedagogy, Performance, which will be published in September as part of the Palgrave Shakespeare series. I can tell you that's very prestigious. A book series to be a part of, and congratulations to Professor Philippian about that. So great, we'll continue to announce news next week and try to get a little bit more caught up on some of the great stuff that happened over the summer, as well as things that are happening right now as we speak. So we mentioned a lot of things are happening, and now I'm gonna turn it over to you to talk a little bit more about what's about to happen in our community.
Yeah, and just before I run through the list, because there's a lot of exciting stuff happening on campus over the next week, I do want to just quickly draw on, I think you said both the state and the federal government, I do hear this when I'm out in the community with mayors and superintendents and et cetera. It feels like there's three areas that, and you work so closely with all the people that are working on these grants, but as you already mentioned, this issue around nursing, but also the issue around early childhood education, and then you also mentioned the issue of mental health. All three of those areas, we've received grants to either help the community or to educate our students or do both. And I think that is, it's really fits so well into our mission. So I just wanted to re-emphasize that.
Yeah.
So a few things. So upcoming this week, on Thursday tonight, 4 to 6 in the Philip Lynch Theater, the third theater department offering a welcome. Also in the Brother James Gaffney Center tonight, there's a Meet the Greeks, and Meet the Greeks is an opportunity for you to meet all of our Greek organizations on campus. Tomorrow, 3:30 to 5 in the Gaffney Center, the Asian American Association is meeting. Also on Friday night, men's and women's cross country have their first meet. I talked to James the other day, and he's excited about, we've been running a lot, practicing a lot. Also Friday night, Residence Life is having a bonfire at 7:30. Sunday, 10 to 2 at the Lewis Stadium, men's and women's soccer are hosting Parkside. And Tuesday next week at Mother Teresa, Coffee and Conversation hosted by the Student Wellness Center. Also Tuesday, Harold White Aviation, Women in Aviation. And then next Wednesday, Chris mentioned this once, but 12 to 1 is community hour. So just a reminder, no classes occur during community hour. It's an opportunity for faculty, staff, and students to join together in opportunities for brainstorming, events, all this stuff. And it's a really great new initiative that we have on track this year. The other thing I just wanted to mention before we move to our guest is that Lewis University's men's and women's volleyball teams took a European tour this summer, which it's an opportunity that the NCAA allows once every 4 years for students to go overseas and do both compete, but also have a cultural opportunity. So in addition to competing with various European teams, the student athletes earned credit for a history class, which I know Dr. Dennis Kremen was able to offer, and he traveled with the team. They visited 3 countries, Italy, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia throughout the trip. And they learned about the Lasallian mission. I know they were at the Generalate. They learned about world history relevant to the Lasallian mission, as well as their issues as citizens, just learning to be global citizens, and took several tours of historic monuments and landmarks, experiencing different cultures. The women's volleyball team, just to stick on that really briefly, starts in earnest this weekend with a trip to California, where the Flyers will play Seattle Pacific, Cal State San Marco, Biola, and Point Loma all this weekend. So you can both be on campus watching soccer and cross country, and you can be on your device watching women's volleyball. now we have our guest, and I'm really excited because I'm so excited about this show because I really do think we have to talk about all the accomplishments that have been done from a physical plant point of view. So Chris, do you want to introduce our guest?
Sure, I'm really excited to introduce our guest. Before I do so, I will remind us that if you have questions about anything we've talked about or about the topic of our physical plant, our facilities, and so on, and want to ask us, please use askus@lewisu.edu. Remember that if you're watching this after it has been posted on YouTube, it's still okay to use that, askus@lewisu.edu, and we can respond after the show is over. But please, if you're watching now, please feel free to send in questions. Also, I just want to say there's all these amazing activities that you just talked about. That the one that you mentioned on Sunday is the soccer, men's and women's soccer competing in the afternoon against Parkside. We really encourage you to go to that game and support our soccer teams, but I also really encourage you just to go to the stadium and look at the new turf field that's there and the new track. It's just really strikingly powerful, beautiful to see what it looks like. So please do that. So I'm really, really excited to welcome our guest, Teresa Krejci. Teresa was named the Vice President for Finance and the Chief Financial Officer at Lewis in July of 2019. She is responsible for the university's budget, human resources, facilities, and investments, and she serves as the Executive Secretary of the Finance and Infrastructure Committee and the Audit, Legal, and Risk Management Committee of the Board of Trustees. Before coming to Lewis, Teresa was the Chief Financial Officer at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, serving since 2014. And prior to her role at Drake, she was the Chief Financial Officer at Southwestern Community College in Creston, Iowa for 17 years. Teresa, very nice to have you here with us.
Thank you, I'm excited to be
Thanks
here.
for being here. And so the focus of today, as I just mentioned, all of your different responsibilities, there's always a lot to talk about. But today we're really focused on the facilities changes over the summer and the projects that are underway and how they relate to our overall planning and so on. So
Thank you very much.
I know that you have a presentation of sorts, and we'll probably just get started right away unless you have any quick questions.
No, I
then
appreciate you being here, and even more appreciate your leadership in terms of, it is really hard to, we have like 20 plates spinning when it comes to projects at any given time. You'll see all of that, our audience will see all of that, but no, I mean, I'll have some questions after we run through the list of all that's been going on over the last basically 12 months. I mean, certainly the last 3 real focus on, but yeah. So thanks for coming, Teresa.
Interrupt you. Sorry, I
Yeah, we
cut you
probably
off.
will.
We'll probably interrupt you just like I interrupted Dave.
Yes, add to everything that I show you about different projects. I just want to thank you guys for having me, and also, a shout out to Keith Cameron and his team for all the work that they do in facilities, which, to your point, happening this summer, happening as we speak, happening every day. There's no downtime. They have a lot going on, but take this opportunity to present at least a few of the projects that we've been working on, and we have some pictures to show you. But I'd like to start with just sharing with the community what our guiding principles are for having everything that we do in facilities. It really guides our work. There's like 5 that I want to point out for sure. One is that we amplify student success, which naturally everything we do is for that purpose, but we want to make sure that we are helping the students. Whatever we do in facilities helps the students achieve their educational goals and enhances their experience on campus. Number 2, building a community on campus, because we definitely want what everyone feels on campus to be ways that they can collaborate, whether it's students together, students and faculty, students and staff. So we're always looking for those study spaces, even social gathering spaces. The third one would be making LaSallian evident values on campus. So you see that with the encounter for one, but anything we can do mission-wise to make sure that we can have LaSallian be front and center in everything that we do. We also want to enhance the core of campus. So we are focusing specifically on the Romeoville when I say that, and it would be, we might have spaces for academics or residence halls or student services, but how do they all work together and speak to each other? And then the last one, a connected campus. So we want it to be very pedestrian friendly. So we have these spaces that are, somewhat have zones, but we want to be able to have something that we can all relate to and see one another, and a real community and density, and have, you know, parking more towards the perimeter. So those are, some are short-term goals, some are just long-term. We're looking in the future to use all those planning principles.
So can I want to stop there really quickly, and because we work with this all the time, it's really great to have the planning principles laid out, but on the top of that slide, it talked about campus master plan. And the people that don't work in this space all the time, like, what is a campus master plan?
So it's really like a 40-year plan,
Yeah,
but
that's what I wanted to get across.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So we did a couple years ago. We spent time over a year just putting in different groups, having input to the plan. So a visioning of how we can inform our daily decisions and our, you know, short-term and long-term decisions. So we refer to it frequently. It's not a plan that we said, this is what we're going to do, and now we're going to start working and building exactly like this. No one actually builds exactly like their big vision, but it certainly guides our you know, thoughts and decisions that we make along the way. It was very helpful in us deciding everything from where we're, you know, going to do a significant renovation or place a program or build a residence hall, or all types of things that we'll be faced with. We now can see this broader vision to help us.
Yeah, and it seems to me like one of the things you said that I think is really key is, again, it's a 30 to 50-year vision. Let's call it a 40-year vision. The principles won't change much, right? Those things that you just went through, they're going to be pretty solid. But it might be that, you know, this thing that we thought we'd do in year 3 is really going to be happening in year 5, or this thing that was supposed to happen in year 7 might happen in year 1. But the basic principles is what we're working from.
Very
That's why I
solid.
love that you started there,
Yep.
because I think it grounds all of our decision making.
Yep.
So it's both. So everything we're going to see in a minute are really in there as actual projects, because we just did it a year ago, and
Yep.
you know, or 2 years ago, and so we haven't veered too much from the plan. But you know, over 40 years, certainly that will likely happen. And these principles, and if new things come up, you know, new challenges come up, like where we discover something or some, you know, new variable gets into the equation, these guiding principles are super helpful,
Yeah.
and we fall back on them often.
Yes, we do. Very helpful. So the first project I wanted to show, we have a couple pictures here, and Chris referred to it earlier, the replacement of the turf field and the outdoor track. So on the right-hand side of that screen, you can see the after, which the track really needed help, and we replaced the stadium turf. And this was originally installed back in 2012, and now is replaced with, obviously, products that will improve a longer life expectancy and meet all the NCAA standards. So it's a great benefit, not just for our students, for guests when we're hosting athletic events. So we're excited about that. The next one is just a quick picture of tennis courts. So winter was not friendly to this surface, so this was a welcome improvement to get this done over the summer. And also we have the new synthetic turf field that is going to be built over this next year. Probably most of that work is going to happen in the spring, but we're really excited about this. It actually is providing an additional resource for athletics and recreation, so it's services for both athletes and non-athletes that they can use in their training and competition. We currently have 2 grass fields and the stadium turf, but this will expand those spaces, especially when they're busy or during inclement weather. It'll be just a project that we think is going to accommodate programs that will be full size for like soccer and lacrosse. We're also looking at maybe enhancing it with lights, so it'll be useful for a long-term part of the year.
So one of the things I want to comment on, and you know, maybe we could go back a couple slides. I just want to point a couple things out. Those first 2 slides, here's what I think is valuable for people on campus to appreciate is, you look at what the track looked like, it looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty beat up. We don't have a picture of the tennis, so that's enough. I just wanted to show that left side again. But part of that is for me to, I think we need to acknowledge that there are places on campus that don't look very good today. They haven't been fixed, and people are like, look at how bad, but we have a plan that does take decades to do. We can't do everything all at once, and things tend to wear out in a certain time. So the track was certainly wearing out. It was getting to the end of its useful life. And then we put it back together and resurfaced it, and now it's going to last another 10 years. But I think there's 2 things to acknowledge there. 10 years from now, it'll also look bad. As good as it looks right now, it'll
maybe
not
15.
look good.
Yeah, we're going for 15.
Right. And and that there are things that are coming up next, right? In the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, there are things that are maybe getting a little bit towards the end of their life, and we know that that's coming, and we just want to let the campus know that, sometimes that can be hard to stomach for a while because it's right at the end and it's still 2 years out.
Yeah.
We always have a capital improvement plan that's always 3 to 5 years out so that we can get things in the queue when we know they're going to be ready to be done.
Yeah.
The next project is, our significant project this year is South Hall. So South Hall is a multi-phase project, but it's intended to renovate the existing building and eventually expand the building's footprint to include many other health science programs. This one's starting out that would help our new physical therapy program that is slated to start in 2025. So the first part of this core is a core central renovation where we'll complete this 16,000 foot of existing space for labs and offices, and being able to have that completed this year, the summer of '24, so that we can offer that program.
So if you've ever been to the lower level of South Hall, where there's some classrooms, it has been the home of facilities for a long time. The speech language pathology program is there. That's the part of the building that we're talking about renovating for physical therapy.
And it seems like it's a long way away when you say 2025. I just want to note that we are currently, as we sit here, 4 months away from 2024, and students who are being recruited for this program will be starting to come to campus in the spring of 24 and the fall of 24, because they are going to be starting in the spring of 25. And so it'll get done, but we're right up against, it may seem like, oh, that's a long way away. It's not a long way away for physical therapy to get started.
No.
We have a couple of pictures, I think, of just the renditions of some of the rooms for phase 1. The next part is the phase 2. So phase 2 is not scheduled for this year to start. It would be in the future. But we've got a few pictures there. It's an actual infill. So South Hall itself is divided into 3 sections, and we're going to be infilling between 2 of the sections in this next phase. And that opens up additional square footage for the programs, and then we can move in more health science programs, OT or SLP, occupational therapy.
Largely the yellow part of this, what we're looking at on the screen here, is that second phase.
Yep.
And then we have some photos of what it'll look like. That photo, that one from the outside. So that's that infilling. I think, as you said, Christopher, for people that walk by this, and some of them walk by it on their way to that stadium all the time, our students, faculty, staff, or drive by it, that white part that you see there and both of those pictures is really right now a courtyard. It's like it's not even a courtyard, it's an outdoor piece of grass in between the buildings. And that white part will then fill in between those 2 bricked or yellowish looking parts of the building.
In 2 stories.
In 2 stories, yeah. It's a really significant addition.
What we're looking at here is the second story that is a big student lounge. And I emphasized the lower level a second ago, but the phase 1 has a major renovation to that large classroom. I never remember the number of this classroom, but everybody who spends any time in South Hall, the big lecture hall that you walk into, there is being renovated, and we saw an image of that a second ago. And then also the entryway to South Hall is part of this first phase of renovation. There's the large classroom, and there's also a new faculty lounge on the top level that we're looking at there. But that entryway is also going to be really exciting, and it will impact everybody who goes in the building. So if you're thinking it only matters to me if I'm a physical therapy student or something, the whole building is going to be really beautiful, beautifully refreshed through this process.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very excited about this edition. Not only, as you say, that health sciences, and I do want to say this is also a part of what I call it, the university strategic plan and the kind of academic strategic plan and the campus master plan all have to flow together. So this notion of adding occupational therapy, then adding speech language pathology, then adding physical therapy, they're all connected. And then facilities, we try to work within the facilities we have, and then we have this plan and then we need to add. So I think all of this is, it's taking place in a way that really, it is strategic. It's not just haphazard.
Yeah.
The next project I wanted to mention was North Hall. So that's one of our residence halls. It's being redone over a period of 3 different phases. Phase 1 and 2 are complete, so they're actually being occupied. Each of the suites for those students have been renovated with new flooring and paint, and all the furniture in the common areas have been replaced and renovated restrooms. So that what's underway right now for this fiscal year is the final and 3rd phase. So when that's completed, then the entire North Hall will be renovated. So that's exciting. There's a couple of student spaces and lounges that are also have new furniture. And one of the lounges on the main floor, we're still working on plans for that. So more to come for North Hall.
I'm really excited about that 3rd phase, that the part that you just said isn't quite done yet. Because of North Hall is such a great location, and it really going back to the design principles of the master plan. It's right there in the core of campus. And part of our vision for that final phase, that is the kind of lounge set of lounges that are there, will be that it's large enough and it will be cool enough where it can be open to the whole student community, who are not, the part where you live will kind of be set back and have a key entry, so that any students can come right from the green right into some really nice lounges in North Hall, even if you don't live in North Hall. So next
fall, Community Day, you can have events in that lounge that just tie all this together.
Yeah.
So
it's really cool.
It is.
It'll be a really nice space. So we're also doing some classroom renovations, and there's lots of classrooms and labs that are being renovated. So I don't have time to mention all those. I'm highlighting this one in particular because it is a general classroom. And what we're doing is several of these where we're modernizing and preparing completely new vision for the look and the feel and the educational technology associated with all of this to really enhance the student experience. So this is one of the classrooms that we've got slated to do. We still haven't finalized the design. We have a classroom committee. We'll bring it back together to finalize the look and feel for this and the technology. And then when we use this, we want to start having faculty and staff evaluate these changes that we made so that we can fine-tune and roll this out to more classrooms in the future. So we're excited about these changes so we can try these new technologies and the new furniture and everything and see how we can replicate this throughout the campus.
It's great. And I just want to remind people, ask us at lewisu.edu if you have questions, if you've heard something that piques your interest, you want to ask a follow-up, or you do have when is this going to happen? Those kind of questions. We may or may not be able to answer them, but we'll try.
Okay. The next project is a future project, but I wanted to mention it. It's the Aviation Center. It's a renovation and an expansion. So this shows you multiple phases, so it definitely is over multiple years of what we would like to do, but one of the first phases that would maybe start in the next year or so would be renovating the Harold White building. So that would be an interior renovation that provides space for private debriefing with the pilots, small group study, collaboration areas, upgraded finishes, restrooms, and HVA systems. So that particular building is just upgrading it for the teaching techniques and technological advances in training pilots and aircraft maintenance students that have evolved. We're trying to make those changes, and it's a very our interest is growing in aviation as a career selection, and it's putting capacity pressures on our facilities, and we want to keep up with that with some of these renovations that are being planned.
So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to be clear, that's the red portion of that,
of
that design.
So Chris, you work very closely with Dean White and our chairperson, Ryan Phillips, Dr. Phillips. So can you offer, Teresa talked about some of this, but maybe talk a little bit about the growth in aviation and where we see this potentially going. And then, I know we compete with, we're one of few, but in the Midwest, we have some competitors. I don't want to even name their names, but we have some competitors both in Illinois, Michigan, the Dakotas, Indiana. Give us a sense of where is this going and how will this change things for aviation?
Well, as Teresa said, there's a large need for this particular phase 1 is about pilots. There's a lot of needs all across the aviation industry, but in particular, there's a large need for pilots due to growth in aviation as well as in kind of retirement cycles of our nation's pilots. And so we have a lot of requests, a lot of applications for students to come to Lewis to be pilots, to be trained as pilots. And all of the projections show that that will continue for over a decade in terms of the need for the industry to kind of have enough prepared and qualified pilots to be serving in the industry. Like I said earlier about nursing, it's very similar. The region really needs, the region and the country really need us to be able to graduate as many pilots as possible. We also, I drive by a billboard often on my way home that says, Lewis University, Chicago's Aviation University. We are, really well positioned in the Chicago area to be the leading aviation. We are the region's leading aviation industry, and so we have also a responsibility there to be especially supportive of some of our local aviation corporations that are also asking for us to step up our ability to produce more graduates from our program. So. And then, as Teresa said really clearly and eloquently, the design of the building is really about matching. The actual size of the building is not changing, but the interior design will really allow our flight instructors and our pilots to work in a way with students so that there is the most supportive environment possible and the most efficient environment possible in terms of allowing us to have more students who are really having that little bit of privacy that you need when you are having a one-on-one debrief with a flight instructor, but also to have quite a few people in a really bustling, beautiful building.
Yeah, I just want to quickly, I know we have a few other little things to talk about. Question came in about community hour. I tried to mention that, but Chris, you've been also working on this more broadly. I think it's been worked on for almost a year.
Yeah,
it's now being launched, so people are wondering what that's about.
Thank you. It's a really big change in our schedule. I'm laughing because it may not be obvious to people that it's the work that goes into creating 1 hour of free time a week. But that's essentially what it is from our perspective, from people who work at Lewis, and from especially professors and students' perspective. There are no classes scheduled on Wednesdays from 12 to 1. So that's what's taken us a year to develop a set of schedules and a daily schedule that allows for that. And the reason why we have done it, why it's beginning, is that we wanted to create a time in the day for students to be able to engage in community activities like the ones I talked about earlier in terms of clubs, different athletic events, to be able to just study before the next class, to have a lunch where you're not walking between classes while you're eating lunch and so on. And for students and faculty to be able to interact. I didn't mention this, but I walked back from the student engagement fair yesterday through the academic science building, or the arts and science building, and it was full of students studying in all of the couches and chairs, and many faculty, and this would be Coast faculty in this example, but I'm sure it was happening all over campus, had their doors open and were talking with students in their classrooms. So professors are using that as a opportunity to be able to talk with students one-on-one more. So that's community.
That's great.
Community
hour. Thank you for that. So Teresa, other things?
Sure. I have a slide where I just listed a few other updates, and like I said, I don't have pictures of everything. We literally have hundreds of projects going on. So maybe a quick shout out to, we have several people that help organize and manage those projects. In addition to Keith Cameron and his team, Amy Castelli, Jennifer Scavarla, and Lakeisha Lindsay, are key players in helping us keep all the projects on track. Here I'm just mentioning a few: a trading lab, media lab, technology studio, some classrooms, and as Dr. Livingston mentioned earlier, a major renovation in our space in Oak Brook. So very nice, just finished that. A few other things that are on this list upcoming would be a more welcoming space in the main floor of the LRC. So When you walk in there, someone would greet you, help you to get to the appropriate office, or even more of a one-stop shop where they can answer their questions. And I also made a note here, we're adding 12 new charging stations for electric vehicles, as many of our existing spots are heavily used, so that will be coming in the spring.
Wow, it's a lot. And as you say, we didn't touch on everything. I mean, there are, we didn't talk about the new sidewalk that's in, so people can actually walk from the LRC
something on the
to
new
Benilde.
sidewalk. Oh, not that one, but
Yeah.
a sidewalk.
Yeah, but I mean, there's just so many little
Yeah.
things that
But
happen.
that's, if I may, that example is a good example of the design principles in action.
Yes.
You know, where we don't have a sidewalk that you can walk on in a circle around the main drive. And that, you know, our design principles are about creating this core space that is mostly about walking and being together. And so it's so wonderful that we're, you know, inch by inch, you know, some of these
Phase by
like
phase.
20-foot spaces are really hard to put a sidewalk in
Yes.
because of the way it's designed. But I'm so glad we're making progress there. And it's in that particular one that I know many people are happy about that, the one that just happened, because it's a safety issue around that kind of Benilde turn issue. Is, you know, I hear a lot of requests for increased safety there, so thank you.
Yes, this is the sidewalk that does show the completion. It was all trees, and a lot of students will get up and do the run around the perimeter of campus, which is a beautiful run in the morning.
Yeah.
But this particular spot didn't have a sidewalk, and they would run on the street, and it's kind of a blind curve, so we're excited about that change for sure. The second entrance is also one that is coming in a few years, but I did have a short, it's hard to see, but basically it's coming off of Renwick into campus. So this is really for, we've wanted it for a long time, you know, large events. We have one entrance into the campus on Highway 53, which makes it, you know, congested at times. And so it's, you know, going to be exciting for us to have this new second entrance that can, it'll probably have signals and landscaping, and it'll be another beautiful drive into our campus in addition to the one we have on 53.
And so just because I know people are looking at this for the first time, Renwick is basically at the bottom of that, or the bottom of that screen. So that's how the new entrance will allow us to access. So I'm really sad to say we're almost out of time. I know there are a lot of questions. Please use the Ask Us email if you have more questions, and we can definitely address them. And again, I just want to also echo the thank you to all of the people who were mentioned, Keith, Amy, Jennifer, everybody who has made all of this possible. It's really a lot of stuff to get accomplished, and especially these really small projects that we just glossed over make huge impact in people's lives and in professors' ability to teach contemporary. A lot of the things that are actually in this building that we're in De La Salle are granting professors the ability to teach contemporary professional skills that are similar to what the workplace is like, both the media lab and the two education labs that are opened up, and there's another great one in biology, and they're all kind of geared around that, you know, making the learning as contemporary and relevant as possible. So I know there's a lot of appreciation for all this change.
Yeah, so, and then I'll begin to wrap up. Any last comments you want to make, Teresa?
No, we didn't get to everything. I'll mention fire pits.
Oh, yeah.
So we're
We
excited
gotta do
about
that.
that.
Oh, yeah,
There's a
we
picture.
should. All right.
There's
Gotta
going to
do the
be,
fire
and
pits.
we're hoping to get that soon in the next month or two. 4 locations around campus that students can gather. Most of these 3 of them will be near residence halls. So a great, you know, bid to our guiding principles of adding community and places to gather.
So we think that'll be
In the
before
winter.
the snow
In the
flies?
winter even.
Before
Yes,
the snow flies.
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Very good.
Yeah, cannot wait.
That is going to be really great to see. I might have to deliver donuts to the fire pits some night. I don't know.
S'mores.
S'mores, that would be good. S'more supplies. Well, thank you, Chris. I just want to thank you, Teresa, and thank you for your leadership. The other thing I would want to say about this, and this goes to the entire community, so everybody that works here, but Teresa and her team on the finance side have also created budgets that have allowed us to have the cash which has allowed us to invest in these projects. So you can have the best campus master plan that you want. I know there are schools, I know there are presidents out there who have this great idea of what we could do on our campus. But if there's not the resources, the financial resources to invest, or if every dollar that you spent has to be borrowed, then that borrowing cost goes on the backs of future students. So we have, and again, this goes to your leadership and all the people in the finance team, but also every single person that works here, because everybody that works here, everybody from the people that recruit students to everybody who manages a budget, create the possibility of investing in the future of our campus, and that makes it a better place to work. Huh?
Donors and grants.
And donors, of course. Now we have some significant donors. We just had a donor who is going to do, so in the South Hall renovation, there's going to be a cadaver lab, which is going to have some real cadavers, but also some syndavers.
No real
No real cadavers. We're all going with all syndavers.
Yeah.
Or I think that's what they're
Yeah,
called.
that's exactly right.
Syndavers. So synthetic, virtual, going into
They're not
as
virtual.
a
They're real synthetic.
real synthetic cadavers. And we're excited about that investment because it's expensive, but it's best practice as we move forward. So really appreciate everybody's work. Want to say it's been great to be back on the show, our 4th season. We wish you nothing but the best. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Again, also grateful for everybody who works. As we celebrate Labor Day weekend, all of our colleagues around campus who give so much of their life, energy to serving our students, to serving each other on a Labor Day weekend. We want to celebrate everybody who works, but also celebrate that it's an opportunity in the United States to get together with family and friends. So I hope that you find an opportunity to get together with those that you love. Many blessings to you and everybody that you care about. Have a great weekend.